think I need to be more careful in front of cameras before.
It is the 14th day of January 2026. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Morning Cafe. My name is Anne Odida.
My name is Fred Ndimuli. It is only the second Thursday of this new year 2026, lakini siasa imeshika moto nakwambia. And we are back to the mountain.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the local dailies. It's World Logic Day as well, so at least instill some logic into your children as well. Yeah.
All right.
The Standard Ruto reality check.
Meka nini hapo nyuma? Mlima. Ajipanga upya kuteka mlima. Habari ni ile Rais Ruto, Taifa Leo.
All right. People Daily, Ruto on the road. That's it.
All right. Daily Nation goes with something totally different. States 39 billion shilling legal fees scam. And Daily Nation siku hizi ndo wamekuwa kama wale wengine wa Fresh Independent.
The Stand, Yohawa. ODM's secret card as party starts 2027 election pact talks.
There's this story here. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Raging drought wipes out livestock in northern Kenya.
This is a big discussion. This sentence was just too long. I thought you should have ended it somewhere here. Anyway.
All right, that's the Star.
Business Daily, telcos face higher fines as Communications Authority sets service quality at 90%. And at least we'll make up a sura what is happening in Uganda.
Yes.
That's a Business Daily. All right, for State of the Nation, we'll be having these three legislators in studio. For the first time this year, Senator Joe Nyoto of Moranga, Dr. John Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tegania West, and Julius Ruto, who's the MP Keses. They'll be here to help us look at the big headlines and, of course, William Ruto's return to the mountain.
All right, being a Wednesday, we speak matters of the heart today. Money. Is it power for men and freedom for women? What do you think?
Power for men, freedom for women.
Absolutely. Correct.
I like that title.
Sawa Twende Regional. You know, Uganda imezimiwa internet, so it's surprising that we have their dailies today. Last time when Tanzania walikuwa experience internet blackout.
But this is the only daily we've gotten from Uganda today.
The only one?
We don't have the new vision.
Oh my God.
Hawana internet.
Silence. Many Ugandans were yesterday caught off guard after the government shut down public internet access. The development comes hot on the heels of news of the state suspending operations of human rights and governance NGOs, triggering fears of uncertainty. Internet shutdown leaves Ugandans in the dark. Suspension of NGOs creates job uncertainty. The do's and don'ts as you go to the polls are listed on page 6.
Interestingly, the campaign period officially ended yesterday. For campaign rallies, they were to end by 6 p.m. And if at all you had an advertisement on radio or TV, it was supposed to expire by midnight. But I'm seeing this daily this morning with an advertisement by Yoweri Museveni down here. Rules don't apply to him. Yes. Yeah, this is a campaign ad after official campaign period ends. So I don't know kama, lakini jana Electoral Commission walikuwa wamesema by 6, ukipitisha hivi tunakuja for you. We might even disqualify you. If your ad goes beyond midnight on radio, they're coming for you. Hii iko hapa itakuwa hapa the whole day today.
Ugandans have normalized very, anyway, hiyo ni maisha yao. Hotly contested MP seats have also been listed on the front page and on page 4 and 5. Acholi, Ankole, Kigezi, Toro, Bugisu, Busoga, Buganda. Leo hatuna Mafabi, Chagulanyi and Muntu.
Hiyo story yao iliisha. Elections ni kesho, ni Yoweri Museveni or nobody else. So if at all you're in a WhatsApp group with a person from Uganda, usijaribu kuwa nini, hawapati anything.
VPN pia itafanya.
Hata mkijaribu kuwa encourage siju kwa TikTok, hawaoni, poleni, they can't see.
How to know you have type 5 diabetes? That story is on page 5, Matters Health. Well, that's the only newspaper from Uganda. Twende Bongo.
In Tanzania, we focus on the citizen and matters fuel prices. Big discussion there. Why pain at the pump could finally ease in 2026. So global market forecasts suggest that crude prices are likely to remain subdued in 2026, with rising production among major exporters being among the key reasons. I do not know if what is happening between the US and Venezuela will affect this, but this is what is at the inside pages of the Business Daily in the Citizen in Tanzania. Page 8, that story. Hao wanalipa a liter of fuel hapa mkilia sana, hao wanalipa a liter of petrol is currently selling at 2,000. 778 in Dar es Salaam, up from 2749 in December, while a litre of diesel cost 2,726, having dropped from 2,779. Hapo ukitaka kujaza tank unalipa milioni.
Wacha hata niangalie ni pesa ngapi in Kenyan shilling.
Unalipa milioni ndo ujaze tank. As you look for the Kenyan equivalent of that, Samia asks judiciary to safeguard peace through firm justice. Stories of courage, loss and survival after escaping FGM, and they've remained with this special report on FGM this entire week.
That's 142 Kenyan shilling.
142. Actually, it's cheaper than what we are paying here in Kenya. Lakini unahitaji shilingi milioni za Kitanzania ili uweze kujaza tenki lako la gari. Pale juu, Museveni eyes 7th term after 4 decades in power. At least Tanzania give prominence to this story on the front pages. Ukija Kenya, we don't care what happens kule. Hata tujui kama
Business Daily wana care.
It's only Business Daily that care. Iran-Tanzania chaos is the same story but different authors. The protests in Iran, Donald Trump jana aliwaambia continue protesting, help is coming. Mbona kuambia watu wa Tanzania, ndugu zetu, poleni mko peke yenu. Tafuta milioni kadhaa ujaze tenki. The Citizen.
Alright, tukisalia kule Bongo, gazeti la Mwananchi, Jaji Masaju afichua vikwazo utoaji haki. Habari hii, Rais Samia Suluhu amenukuliwa hapa, anasema huko mahabusu kuna mtu anafungwa kwa kesi ya kubambikiwa. Sasa nini kimetokea mahakamani hadi mtu anafungwa kwa kesi ya kubambikiwa? Akitoka anasema sikuwa na kesi, nilibambikiwa tu. Hiyo ni kama kuwekelewa, si ndio? Kuwekelewa kesi. Jaji Masaju afichua vikwazo utoaji haki. Na jaji mwenyewe anasema maisha yetu ni ya kujitenga na jamii kiasi ambacho upelekea msongo wa mawazo na sonona kwa kukosa mazingira bora ya kuishi na hali za kiuchumi kuwa duni.
Wanasema majaji wako na depression sababu they cannot integrate so much with the common man. They need to distance themselves so that they can administer justice. They're just going through, I think, matters to do with justice delivery. Interesting.
Very interesting. Joyce Jamila vinara kupinga ukeketaji nchini. Yes, that story about FGM. Katakata ya umeme inavyong'ata Unguja. Hawa ni kama wanashinda wamekatiwa stima. Last year wako wanapumua na ukiwa issue. Used to tell them sijua wana stima.
Sina ukweli katakata stima, umeme katakata, lakini kule ni Zanzibar.
Kiapo, viongozi wateule wa kiapo cha maadili baada ya kuapishwa Ikulu cha Mwino mkoani Dodoma jana. Hii picha hii hapa. Matumaini bei ya dizeli petroli mwaka huu kule Tanzania, na siri wanaume kuhusika na bakteria ukeni. Hiyo ni bakteria gani? Wakati tatizo la bakteria ukeni likiwasumbua wanawake wengi nchini, imebainika kuwapo uwezekano mkubwa kwa wanaume kubeba wadudu hao kule Tanzania. Ama hii ni UTI?
Mbona tu umefikiria tu ni maswala. Ameongelea tu kuhusu bakteria.
Hakuna bwana. In fact, I'm going to search that now. Kule juu, Chauma wamekata pumzi, wanajipanga, ni swali wanauliza katika ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. These are the regional dailies, of course. Tuangalie hali ya anga, ama tuna nyingine. Tuangalie hali ya anga tuone kunakaa vipi. Yesterday we said it was going to rain in Nairobi. It didn't. Lakini tuone leo. Nyeri, 11 degrees this morning, feels like 10 degrees. It's a mostly cloudy day. Highs of 25 degrees, precipitation 5%. No chance of rain today in Nyeri, but on Saturday, it's likely to rain heavily. In fact, precipitation will be at 40% on Saturday. This is Nyeri.
All right. Up north in Marsabit, the biggest county we have, it's quite hot today. 21 degrees in Marsabit this morning, highs of 30 degrees, which is quite warm. They say it's partly cloudy. No chance of rainfall today, probably on Sunday, the weekend, when they expect some rainfall there. Central Rift Valley?
Nakuru, it's very cold this morning. 9 degrees, feels like it. It's a partly cloudy day, highs of 24 degrees. Precipitation in Nakuru today is 10%, so very minimal rainfall. If at all, there'll be some rainfall there. Tomorrow, this temperature will rise 25 degrees into the weekend, 26 degrees. Next week, 27, so Nakuru kutawaka kidogo.
Let's go to Kitale. Wakulima wanaendelea na masuala yao pale. 12 degrees currently, partly cloudy today, highs of 27 degrees. Very little chance of rainfall there as well. This highs, the temperature will continue rising. 29 tomorrow and next week kuna mali itafika 31 degrees in Kitale. Where?
Malindi, 25 degrees, feels like 27 this morning. Highs of 29 degrees. Precipitation 0%. Lakini ni kama kutakuwa na showers kidogo today. And Friday, it will rain definitely 40% precipitation. Yes, finally Nairobi.
Nairobi, it's chilly this morning at 14 degrees. Hiyo ni ile ya kawaida. They say it's mostly cloudy, highs of 26 degrees, which is comfortable weather. It is expected to warm up even further into the weekend and into next week. Next week tulisema tagonga 29 degrees. Lakini today I think from today inaenda kila siku inapanda. Very little chance of rainfall in Nairobi.
All right, 11 minutes past 6 a.m. Tuangalie Nairobi traffic. How it's looking. It
is day 3 of schools, senior schools continuing to admit learners. So still a lot of traffic in town, around areas around Haile Selassie Avenue and Machakos bus station. But inaendelea kipungua. Most learners already reported for the first 2 days of this week. So inaenda kipungua. But other major tributaries, we're getting back to normal traffic ile ya Januari. Ile ya kawaida watu wanaenda kazi wameshazoea, wanatoka 5, wengine wanatoka 6:30. Kama umezoea, unatoka on point. Outer Ring Road, a bit of traffic there at Feather and Tasia, but after that it's smooth all the way. Makadara, pale Likoni Road, roundabout na Shauri Moyo on Jogoo Road, it's building up slowly. Kangundo Road is not so bad today. Thika Road is looking good, and Pangani Interchange is building up. Waiyaki Way, not bad, and Mombasa Road is green all the way into the city center. So it's normal traffic ya Januari.
All right, let's have the quote of the day. The biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams. Let's come back and take a look at the local dailies in depth. All right, and we start off with the standard Ruto reality check. Shifting loyalty, President William Ruto's hold on Mount Kenya is weakening. His climb up the mountain is getting slippery. His latest tour, where only 2 governors out of 11 joined him to launch projects, is appointed to a switch in allegiance. Once drawing massive organic crowds, he now depends on allies to mobilize supporters and influence projects. Many local leaders fear backlash of unpopular policies and his fallout with former Deputy Rigathi Gachagua. Analysts warn with 2027 approaching, Mount Kenya politicians are recalculating support, leaving Ruto's one solid base increasingly fragile. This story is on page 5 and it's the only story given prominence on the front page of the Standard. Lakini President alisema sometime this week that it's not only Rigathi ndiye alifanya wakakuwa na that relationship with the Mount Kenya region. He had a relationship even before Rigathi during Uhuru's.
Yeah, alisema actually he went there with his boss back then, and his boss kept sending him there for other projects. So watu wengine walisema tu alimleta mlimani. But then again, this assessment, because you'll see other dailies talking about the same story. And not everyone is having this grim or painting a grim picture about Ruto's quest to scale the mountain again. Others are saying he's really working hard. Others are quoting the fact that he came out strong in the Mbeere North by-election. That could signal that his influence is not really waning as the Standard seems to suggest. But there are those who say ata afanye nini. Yeah.
He came out strong, but that was a very small margin. I think 12, just a margin of 12.
Well, he led because many people had said, okay, fine, Mount Kenya imeisha. Ruto's reality check. Okay, fine, he may not be as popular as he was before, but he still retains a level of popularity.
All right. Tukiangalia ndani ya this newspaper, state to receive 110,000 doses of injectable HIV prevention drug, that's lenacapavir, to reduce daily pill burden for HIV negative clients.
And this is a story that I think would or should have gotten a prominence on the front pages. Because matters health should matter to everyone.
Yes.
It's not always just politics, politics, and politics. And many people may not buy this paper because they only see politics. At least a highlight ya kusema hapa kuna story nyingine ya afya kubwa kama hii. Yeah, this is a big story.
In fact, hii inaweza nasa vibaya sana. High prevalence counties will be prioritized for early drug distribution. At a glance, let's look at it. Number of doses of injectable HIV drugs Kenya is set to receive is 33,000. 99% is the efficacy of injectable lenacapavir in preventing HIV transmission, and the cost is $60. That's about 7,736. That is the cost of a single dose of lenacapavir. Now, this is administered twice a year, 6 months each. Yes. Ruto crafts new campaign squad to break regional kingpins' power. That's the story on page 4.
Yes, and he has done a lot. You see, UDA party had grassroots elections in various parts of the country, and they've elected about 20 new officials for every polling center. So you can imagine there are people on the ground purely working for UDA. Not many parties have done that. Musiseme tu ati ameenda. Oh, because this story is also inside the Standards.
On the back page, Chelsea face Arsenal with injury doubts clouding cup clash. Palmer and James are both pivotal to Chelsea's ambitions, and Rossinior's arrival at Stamford Bridge marks a new era. That's the Standard. AFCON imeisha ama ilikuwa inaisha?
AFCON wametake break. Najua walikuwa wanafanya semi-finals. Iko hapa ndani leo kuna semi-final between Senegal and Egypt and Morocco and Nigeria. These are big ones. These are big stories, and then tomorrow they have the third, I think Friday they have the third place playoff before the final on Saturday. Yeah. So definitely, today is a big AFCON day.
So that's the Standard.
Siasa pia kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo, ajipanga upya kuteka mlima. Rais Ruto apata nguvu mpya. So unaona hao wanasema kuna nguvu mpya. Wala wanasema ati reality check. Apata nguvu mpya kujinadi eneo la Mlima Kenya baada ya ushindi wa mwaniaji wa UDA Mbeere North. Rais William Ruto sasa anaonekana kuzidisha juhudi za kuwinda kura za Mlima Kenya, akikumbatia mbinu mbalimbali kurejesha eneo hilo kwenye himaya yake kisiasa kuelekea mwaka 2027. Unajua, one thing about William Ruto is that he doesn't sit back. Hata mkimwambia anakuja tu. Anakuja tu. Na anakuja anawaambia niko hapa na siwaachi. Siasa nakwambia. Pale juu rais atengea vijana minofu kwenye bajeti ya mwaka huu. Ruto alenga kuvutia kura za vijana kupitia ahadi ya mabilioni ya fedha kwenye bajeti ya mwaka ujao. Na kumbuka kwamba sasa is going around the country launching the Nyota programs. Na ukikatendi hiyo mkutano unatoka hapo na elfu zako 22.
Wow.
Leo wako wapi?
Machakos.
Bas. Watu wa Machakos leo mnavuna. Ni mguni ponye AFCON. Wanne bora, Senegal na Misri kufungua awamu ya nusu finali leo jioni kule Morocco. Baadaye itakuwa ni Morocco na Nigeria. Pale chini, Uganda sasa kuzima interneti. Tume ya mawasiliano yasema uamuzi huo unatokana na sababu za kiusalama.
Kiusalama, insecurity gani?
Kiusalama, msitumie internet kuleta vurugu kule. Wale wataika, they're not going to do that. Kwingineko, IBC yaanza usajili katika maeneo 27. Hani wakazi wa maeneo bunge 27 sasa wako huru kuanza kujisajili kama wapiga kura. Nafikiri ni maeneo ambayo yalikuwa katika uchaguzi ndogo wa Novemba 27 mwaka uliopita. Mbunge ahofia hali kuzorota Iran. Masuala ya international affairs. Asema nchi itakabiliwa na maandamano zaidi iwapo haitashughulikia malalamishi ya raia. Donald Trump aliwaambia endeleeni kuprotest, help is coming. I don't know what effect that will have.
All right. People Daily, Ruto on the road. Can development projects win back voters' trust by 2027? Brick by brick.
No, to be honest, when it comes to politics, you just have to sit back and watch William Ruto and you'll get impressed. He finished the year at his home county. Hakukimbia sana kutoka huko. Alianza mwaka mpya huko. Akaanza na Nyota program wapi? Huko nyumbani. Sasa ametoka huko na hajarudi Nairobi. Hajakuja State House Nairobi. No. Ameenda Mount Kenya. Sasa anaenda Ukambani. By the time anamaliza akirudi State House, anajua amewaachia minofu. Sasa pigeni kelele.
Development projects halafu, this story right here, your budget ya vijana.
Lakini hii ni ahadi. Budget inafika June.
Anaweza fanya. This story has been covered on page 4 and 5. Quite interesting. Koimburi's silent shift is a Juja MP drifting toward Kenya Kwanza.
Munasema watu wanamtoroka Ruto, wengine wanarudi huko.
ODM in the hot seat, why the political fire isn't dying.
Wale bado wako na shida.
Kelele kila siku. Leo wanalia bado.
ODM.
Page 6.
Chama. Anyway. Daily Nation, and this one steers clear of the other common headlines, but at least features the politics there. Ruto's plan to regain support in Mount Kenya. That's just a highlight, and the story starts from there, but the main story is on page 10. The big story on the front page has to do with a scandal. State's 39 billion shilling legal fees scam. Law Society of Kenya president backs advocates' fees as lawyers head to the polls next month, but a court order barring public agencies from hiring private law firms has revived the debate on huge legal fees that the government incurs despite employing state lawyers, because under the Attorney General's office, it's a big office, Sharia House, where all the legal representation the government needs is located. But the government and different counties continue hiring private lawyers, and they pay top dollar for it. And now they've taken a look at some of the counties that have paid law firms or are owing law firms money. Leading, of course, is Nairobi, which owes law firms 21.3 billion shillings. That is way more than even the budget allocation for Nairobi County. Yeah, this year. 21 billion shillings. That's a lot of money. Wengine kama Lamu washafikisha milioni 6. Wengine kama Kilifi, nakumbuka kulikuwa na shida nyingi sana kule Kilifi, lakini siwaoni hapa, but quite a number of counties owe millions or billions of money. HELB funding strain as more learners qualify for university. Now this is a good problem, a positive one. Watoto wanapita mtihani sawa wanaenda university, sasa HELB is struggling to actually give them money. Yeah. And those are the stories on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Tukiangalia nyuma, wanazungumzia local coaches on the brink, Senegal facing Egypt, so it's a focus on AFCON, and then Morocco tackling Nigeria later on. We're hoping Morocco watasimamia hapa so that tukue na an open ground, fair ground ya finals. Unajua mtu akichezea kwao kushinda ni rahisi. So that's the main story on the inside pages. Acha nione kama kuna any interesting story huko ndani.
Mbona mtu akichezea kwao inakuwa rahisi kushinda?
Ushasikia wanasema ni mcheza kwao hutuzwa. Mcheza kwao hutuzwa. Another story, Ruto's plan to regain support in Mount Kenya. Big story kule ndani. Yeah, making of ODM UDA union, ruling party endorses coalition talks. So ni kama kuna coalition between UDA and ODM forming. That's the Daily Nation.
All right. The Star, ODM secret card as party starts 2027 election-packed talks with the President Ruto. Raila party agrees to open coalition deal with Kalonzo. Oh, wow.
Wamekuwa werevu sasa wanasema those places or regions that traditionally supported Raila Odinga, and Ukambani is one of them. So wanasema twende huko. Kwingine ni wapi Western, kwingine ni wapi Coast. They traditionally supported Raila Odinga. So ODM ni kama wamerealize they focus too much on themselves and the wrangles within the party, or rather focus too much on UDA. Wanasahau maeneo yale walikuwa wanapata
strongholds. Raging drought wipes out livestock in northern Kenya. This is very devastating here. Huge losses. Malnourished camel and dead livestock in Ramu, Mandera County. Kenya Red Cross personnel walking past carcasses there of livestock killed in drought hit Chibil Bar in Mandera County. Hata wameisha kabisa. Hakuna maji.
And you see now probably these extreme pictures could be coming from areas that are considered on the periphery of Kenya, probably next to the borders. But ukikuja, there are areas here around Isiolo, even parts of Meru that are really affected by this. We'll be having with us MP from Tigania West, Kanyuithia Mutunga to tell us how this has impacted areas around Meru as well.
Najaribu kuangalia wamecover in what page ndio tuangalie zaidi. That is on the inside pages. President milks World Bank's 5 billion shillings hustler pass to charm youth and women. Youth and women.
Ndio, uliona akibeba mtoto mdogo kule Nyeri. Na mtoto akamkatalia.
Na mtu akasema anajua kubeba mtoto.
Mwingine akasema wewe mtoto anajua mahali pesa iko.
Interesting. On the kule juu, top strip. Matter Sports, Nigeria, Morocco, Senegal, Egypt battle to AFCON final slot, and MPs challenge Mbadi and Safaricom sale, and they seek assurance on job losses. That's another interesting story on page 2. That's the Star.
Finally, Matters Business, Business Daily. Telcos face higher fines as Communications Authority sets service quality at 90%. So these firms, including Safaricom, Airtel and Telkom Kenya, they now face higher penalties if a proposal by the industry regulator to raise the levy's quality threshold to 90% and introduce county levy assessment is approved. It's a nice thing. Regulator increases compliance threshold. So unajua ilikuanga ni 50-50, sengine ukipiga simu inaweza enda through ikose. So it has to be 90% has to go through. Na ikishindwa kuna penalty. This will improve the quality of services you receive. So this is a proposed framework which will also introduce county level assessments. At least this paper has focused or given a bit of space on the front page to what is happening in Uganda with the elections. So they say jitters hit Kenya cross-border traders as Uganda heads to the ballot on Thursday. Some traders in Kenya are anticipating losses from supply chain disruptions in the next few days as Uganda heads to the general election tomorrow. Of course, hata hakuna internet, so hata getting contact ya wanunuzi wale, if at all your clientele is in Uganda, hawapatikani. Ngojea wapiga kura na isabiwe.
Lakini sasa hata kama wewe ni Mkenya ukipatwa kule Uganda,
utasema unafanya nini?
Utaenda kwa fridge.
Wa Kenya. All right, on the ticker, Kenya investments fall amid tight global capital flows. Elsewhere, minority EABL investors lose 12 billion shilling paper gain. And central bank's Jan bond sale hit by a system glitch. These are some of the highlights business related on the Business Daily.
All right.
Once again, for State of the Nation, in a few minutes' time, we'll be having these 3 legislators in studio. MP Kasses Julius Ruto, MP Tigania West, Dr. John Kanyuithia Mutunga, and Senator Moranga Joe Nyotos. Do stand by for that conversation.
After that, matters of the heart, money, power for men, freedom for women. Do you agree? Talk to us on our socials. Tukiangalia caricature. We start off in Uganda. This is People Daily. Uganda decides, lakini
ni jamaa mmoja tu.
Tik ni kwa mmoja.
Jamaa mmoja tu ndo ana decide. Uganda decides he's the one is voting for himself in his own head na ame decide.
Yes.
Hiyo sio sisi ni Stano. People Daily. All right, Matters ODM still getting it space on the cartoons. And here we have the party leader, Dr. Oburu Ginga. Ako pale anazungumza on behalf of the Central Management Committee. Lakini hana miguu. Lakini pale anasema as a leadership of this party we stand our ground. Una stand your ground na miguu hakuna. Hiyo ni cartoonist wa standard.
This is the Daily Nation. Matters education here. Forget the message, we don't like the messenger. Wale waliambiwa watengeneze shule na watu wasikiza ground.
I saw some elders from Northeastern came out to condemn these statements. And one elderly man kept on saying how whoever talked to huyo jamani sura mbaya. So anashangaa. Surely, are you even listening to what he's saying? Ama you just don't like the guy na sura yake? Why are you not responding, ideally? Why are you not responding to what he's saying?
They're not disputing that they don't have
They're not disputing that they don't have institutions. They're just saying we don't like the guy.
This is Daily Nation, finally.
Again, ODM on the Star. And Mimi ndio Sifuna, katibu mkuu wa ODM pia caricatured here. He's bending and he has a very long back. Watu wanamwangalia upande hii, wako na nusu ya chungwa, wale wa Central Committee. There's an empty seat. He did not show up for that meeting. Kumbe kuna nusu ya chungwa upande ile nyingine. Naambia hata mimi niko na chungwa. All right. So ODM still a big discussion. Yeah. And we'll see if we can get time for that also with my panel today.
All right. Meanwhile, tunaona pale social media, you guys have woken up early. We appreciate you for that. Morris Werangai anasema Muchanja Kabras na wakilisha, tunakuona. Ed Kars Gilaya anasema good morning, watching from Kericho, the Green Town. Show iko lit. Blessed day. Blessed day to you too, Edgar.
Rogers Nyariki saying following from Amsterdam, Netherlands.
Hey.
John Dirango says good morning, and Emerson Deri Ogembo watching from Kegogi, Kisii.
Elvin watching from Chamasiri, Teso. Advisor Pastor Emmanuel Barasan watching from Kitengela. Anasema Kitengela well represented. Lazima ni watch newspaper, and we appreciate you for that.
Elsewhere, Joseph Fasti says good morning to all, and Stephen Nkosira, good morning Kenya, Narok County tumeamka salama. John Dirango, good morning, tuko pamoja sana.
Yes, interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, and on YouTube on X at TV47 Digital. My handle on X is at @Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47.
My handle on X is at Fred Indimuli. See you after the break.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Oma every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gun. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV47.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Farika tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Farika is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasipuni. CP unit ni Punet.
Ni Punet.
Punet.
You guys knew about it.
Piga.
Sawa basi. I say man, that don't give me the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
Next time you need fresh lemon juice, microwave a lemon for 7 to 10 seconds. Then roll the lemon back and forth under your palm on the counter. When you squeeze, you'll get more juice from the lemon with way less effort.
Start your day with Relationship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the dynamics of love, friendship, and family as we explore the stories that shape our connections. Then satisfy your appetite with Tasty Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. where Anne serves up delicious recipes, cooking tips, and the latest food trends to inspire your next meal. Relationship Wednesday and Tasty Wednesday every Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on Morning Cafe.
Your nose alone won't always tell you if your eggs have gone bad. To find out, gently place uncooked eggs in a bowl of cold water. If an egg sinks to the bottom, it's A-OK. If it floats, it's seen better days.
Yes, it is a crisis in at least 13 counties on the northern and eastern side of this country, which are facing severe drought. And the National Drought Management Agency has issued a warning. And on the front page of the Star, we're seeing this: raging drought wipes out livestock in northern Kenya. Counties like Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit, Isiolo, Garissa, Tana River, Kitui, Kilifi, Kwale, and even Kajiado have been affected, of course, to a large extent. But neighboring counties also affected, counties bordering Isiolo, Kitui, counties like Embu, Tharaka Nithi, and Meru also affected. And this follows the poor performance of the rains in 2025. The weatherman has also predicted below average rainfall for the large part of January and February this year, so that definitely this problem promises to persist. With us this morning is Dr. John Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West in Meru County, which borders some of these areas that are already in distress. Dr. Mutunga, good morning, karibu sana, and Happy New Year. This is your first time at TV47 this year. Karibu sana.
Happy New Year, Indimoli. Happy New Year, the TV47 fraternity, and Happy New Year to Kenyans.
All right. So kindly paint a picture. I know you've been at the constituency level for a while now, as you are on recess. How bad is the situation in Tigania West?
Tigania West, the situation is terrible. You may use the word. Because out of the 36,000 or so households, more than half are affected, which means that only small sections of the constituency might be able to feed themselves. I'm talking about the entire Adwana ward is completely affected, with some areas the effect being extremely severe because they border Isiolo directly. Kejai ward also borders Isiolo. On the lower part, it's terrible. We have Akede ward, which is also bordering the two, and it is also affected to a large extent because in most part of Akede you might not get a crop to maturity. Some of them have withered off at the tasseling stage, if it is for the maize, and therefore they can only be fed to livestock. So there will not be any crops, any grains produced. When you look at the other ward, which is Nkomo ward, is also as much affected. The one that appears that it might have some food is Mbeya ward, which got a little bit of rain, and based on the altitude and the temperatures and the rate of growth of crops, normally we plant fast maturing crops in that part of the sub-county, and we might have some harvest in that area. The other one is the upper part of Akede, which is Kideo, that it's in the highlands, and it normally receives some reasonable amount of rain. But the greater part of Turkana West is affected.
All right.
Yeah.
Because so far we are seeing it's livestock being wiped out, entire herds being wiped out. Is there a risk or a threat of human lives being lost at this point?
There is a serious threat to human life. You realize that people living in those areas have adaptive mechanisms to survive. And they wouldn't need to be given food if we can sustain their livelihoods. Their livelihood is basically the livestock, and there must be clear strategies to do this. And we, in view of the extent to which we are in the drought right now, we actually are not at the mitigation stage. We are at the response stage. We need to respond with the speed we should, because we are getting into a crisis. When animals start dying, we already find ourselves in a crisis. How then do we respond? How do we structure our response? The first thing that we need to do is identify and locate resources, the relevant institutions. The relevant institutions here I have in mind, I know the Ministry of Agriculture largely supplies food to the country, and also food of both crop and livestock origin. And looking at the livestock origin food, we are talking about sustaining the livestock in the areas that we produce livestock. Most of the beef comes from the ridgelands or from the ASAL areas, arid and semi-arid, and the area that is affected is basically ASAL. We also keep livestock, although we are, both farmers and grazers, so we mix the two. But largely we have the Meru Northern Grazing area, which is a grazing land, and we keep livestock there for beef only. So looking at that entire area, they are affected. So instead of probably looking at the human being or human life as needing food at this particular point in time, procuring and supplying food to them, we need to look at how do we ensure that we don't lose millions and millions of livestock. Okay. Because if we can sustain livestock, these people will be able to survive. The first thing people do is identify where there are pastures. And I want to tell you for sure that people in the northern part of Kenya, the northern ridgelands, all of them, they already know and have moved livestock to where there is standing hay, where there is standing hay. But there are challenges, very serious challenges to those areas. First of all, the disease and pest infestation and infection, they need to be followed up for both treatment and taking care of the pest and diseases. The other issue that is really a serious challenge is water. They need water. We need to do serious and targeted water tracking. And when you look at some of these activities, they cannot be handled by the ministry that does the distribution of food to people who are hungry. It can only be handled by the mother ministry because they are very, very deeply,
Ministry of Water.
Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Water combined. Now, when you talk about water tracking, it means we must identify where the animals are grazing at this particular point in time. They identify where there is standing hay, where there is potential for grazing, and they move their livestock there. with oblivious of the fact that they also need water, and sometimes you might have to track animals to long distances for you to get water. So we need to find them and give them water quickly. Okay. The second issue, because that's what kills animals. It's a lack of water mainly that kills animals quickly. The third issue that we need to do is to go and revisit the transhumance agreements in the communities. You see, every community, neighboring communities normally have agreements on the grazing land. And there are those existing, there are some which problem may not be existing. That's why I'm talking about revisiting, which means we might have to create where they are not there. We have communities talking and communities allowing animals to cross through and to go and graze in those areas, because the most important thing is to ensure that livestock can be sustained.
Yes. But listening to you, and you're talking about the kind of interventions needed at this point.
Right now.
But the National Drought Management Authority gave these warnings as early as October when they realized that the short trains were not going to perform as had been expected. Are you saying that there has not been any intervention up until now from the authorities?
I am saying that government takes a little bit of time to reorganize themselves. In the budget, there was no factoring of the drought as an issue. There was basically factoring of resources to various user centers and not necessarily specifically on this issue. So there is need for remobilization of resources and better targeting to be able to address some of these issues. What I'm trying to say is that it is important for us to look at the budget very quickly and see where do we withdraw money from. Maybe cut down traveling and accommodation, maybe look at some of the leisures and put money into surviving, sustaining this.
Are you saying you might need a special sitting of Parliament? I'm aware that Parliament is still on recess, and for normal resumption of work to come is around February. Yeah. This is a crisis.
Yeah, we are facing a crisis, and if it calls for it, I think there is all the reason why we should have the Parliament sitting early to look at the budget and see how do we reorganize the figures so that we focus on the response initiatives that are required to bring people back to life. There are several other things that needs to be done. There are areas where you realize that livestock traders at this particular point in time may want to take advantage. And most of the traders have possibilities to graze these animals elsewhere. They can move them in trucks and take them to those other areas. But they may not have the kind of money required to move millions of animals. So we may need as a country to quickly create some facility within maybe the Agricultural Finance Corporation so that they can borrow this money at concessional rates so they may be able to buy these animals. The other issue which is also very important is there are some specific livestock types, let me say, like the lactating cows, those that are already milking, which are kept near the settlement areas. This needs to be responded to. We need to take feed there, we need to take hay. So when we also need to take water, and we need to take the disease and the pest control initiative. So we need to look at all that as a continuum. And the best ministry placed is Ministry of Agriculture, specifically the Livestock Livestock Development State Department, and Ministry of Water.
Looking at the dailies today, and it's only the Star that has a few images here of drought, the raging drought wiping out livestock. We have images of cows, cattle, dead livestock here and there. Do you think that this crisis is being ignored to some extent by the authorities on one hand, the media on the other? Generally, we talk about other things. This drought is not given prominence.
Especially politics. We are very good at over-exploring, detailing politics instead of looking at some of these issues. Now, let me say this. I would like to imagine that the lack of factoring of this crisis or potential crisis in the budget is an issue. And since our country works by the budget, that might have been an omission, which is serious in this particular respect. And that's why we need to look at it quickly.
On the part of the National Assembly?
On the part of the National Resource Sharing. Now, what needs to be done, because there has already been formed a multi-agency team that is looking at the entire continuum of it. But it should not take too long in the boardrooms so that we may lose too much. We are likely to lose millions of animals. Okay. Even if it means grazing across the borders, we need to have this kind of discussions so that we can cross over the animals. Right. But we must follow them up very quickly with water. If they lack water, we are finished.
Yet this issue recurs every year, the issue of drought, and it's discussed at the national level. Let's allow my other panelists to get into this conversation. Julius Ruto, MPK, says, Happy New Year na karibu sana.
Happy New Year, my brother. Thank you.
We are discussing the drought situation, which curiously is not getting as much attention at the national level. And Bwana Kanyuthia Mutunga here, who represents an area that is largely affected by drought, is calling for intervention at this point. Yet the authorities like the NDMA talked about drought or the potential of drought and life-threatening drought as early as October last year. And we do understand government bureaucracy may take time, but you also agree that even the National Assembly, he agrees, by error of omission, failed to budget for this. Don't you think that that is a failure on your part as a National Assembly in general? Because this drought recurs every year.
First of all, thank you so much for this morning discussion. And we are putting up a weight issue on the situation of the nation as part of the country is now facing the risk of absence of waters, which are very critical in the human life, not only in animals, but human life. Speaking from your point of view, probably we might have to look at exactly the spread of the budget. In this country, we have several agencies that are focusing on the same thing. If you look at the State Department, look at the budget lines, definitely you will see interventions, PP on agriculture, the issues to do with diseases, best to control. You'll also see some, because I'm informed that NDMA is now working on procuring services of drilling boreholes around those areas. The biggest challenge we have as a nation is the basket that we are sharing among critical departments. The discussion we had during the budget period, it focused so much on education, if you still remember, that education is underfunded. And it became a huge discussion. But the critical discussion that we don't look at it so much as a nation is the size of the basket that we are sharing. Such that basket, even if you give today to the State Department as a block, even for them to sit down and allocate the critical lines that support the ministry, focus, the primary focus and objective of the ministry, still at the end of the day, by the time it gets down there to the ground where it's supposed to be spent, that money is no longer visible. That tells us we have a huge challenge in our revenue basket. We have a huge challenge, a huge challenge. We also need to look at the counties that comes from that point of view, from that end. Remember the essence of devolution is also to go there, the situation around there, because we have 47 counties with unique characteristics, unique challenges. The monies that we struggle to agree with counties in terms of division of revenue, it has grown from 300, it was 200, now we are doing almost 500 billion. We also need to have a discussion around there. As we are looking at the big brother from the government point of view through emergencies, because now emergency will be triggered, all those funds, what immediate primary intervention as our county governments focus on it? So it's something that we have to look at holistically as a nation, and that, as we are saying, at such a time and a moment, the kind of leadership we have are leaders with knowledge. They are knowledgeable, they are trained. Most of them have gone to school. They understand the issues of governance and the issues of the people. The leadership is about the people. So we still have a lot of challenges and questions that we must consolidate together so that we move together as a nation.
Right.
Yes.
But this is a leadership challenge, especially to members of both the National Assembly and the Senate, and we're privileged to have Senator Joe Nyoto of Murang'a with us this morning. Senator, it's good to have you in studio. Happy New Year. It is your first instance on Morning Cafe this year.
Oh, welcome.
Senator, you found us talking about the drought situation in the country. According to the National Drought Management Authority, at least 13 counties are in severe crisis. Some of the neighboring counties like Meru, where Dr. Kanyuthia Mutunga comes from, are already affected, but 13 are already exhibiting serious crisis situations and life-threatening as well. Now, we're just trying to examine the role of the National Assembly and the Senate in as far as ensuring that drought mitigation measures are in place through budgeting processes, through devolution, and through the allocation of funds as well. Do you agree that for a crisis that keeps recurring every year, we are a bit too slow to respond? And right now, both houses are in recess. and a crisis is actually brewing?
Thank you, Fred, and Happy New Year to you and all the viewers and my colleagues here. It is true that this is my first show on this, on this show this year, and we thank God for His grace. But talking about the drought situation in the country, actually, this is something that we have been talking about so many times. I personally have said that food security is one of the most important. It should actually be the priority of this government. It should be the priority of every leader. And I've had occasion to argue with especially those that support the government, because I've said it's very important that we see what can be done to reduce our reliance on rain-fed agriculture. And what I'm trying to say is, and the government side has always argued, no, see, we have brought the price of fertilizer from, 7,500 to 2,500, and that is the only mitigation that you'll hear them talking about. But then that is a temporary measure. The real solution to recurrent drought, Fred, is to invest in harvesting of rainwater, and that is, construction of dams, because most of the asals are actually arable. They only need water. We can irrigate and we can be food secure. You don't have to rely on rain for our agriculture, especially for our foodstuffs. And this is something that we must address. The other question that we must ask ourselves is, we have, foodstuffs being distributed by those that support government throughout the year in areas actually that may not need that kind of assistance. And this is relief food. So we must also examine the place of relief food in our country. Why do we actually have that particular provision of relief food? Is it food to go and bribe voters? Is it supposed to go and, seek for political support? Or it is actually supposed to, or it should go to what it is supposed to do, which is mitigation against drought. That is why it's relief food. So what my colleagues here should tell us is how much do we have in store for relief food, because it needs to get going to these counties sooner than later. And if we do not have enough, why have we been distributing foodstuffs, especially where we want to win political support? So for me, these two things are very important. Have we invested? Are we always talking about construction of markets, affordable housing, while we have not done enough?
What about the counties? What is their place in this, as far as responding to such crisis?
Thank you. For counties, of course, they have an emergency fund of about 2% of their, gross resources. And so counties also should not be left behind. But you see, that is, just response, emergency response. Otherwise, counties also, anyway, agriculture is devolved also. Counties should also see to it that they, for example, educate farmers on the best, foodstuffs and crops to plant in their counties, and those are the things. But the ultimate solution, Fred, is harvesting rainwater, irrigation, farming, the right use of relief food. This is what, for me, matters most, so that we do not see this thing recurring every now and then. It's a shame that all those years after independence, all those successive governments that have not been able to arrest this problem once and for all, because we need permanent solutions.
I think, thank you so much. The unfortunate part of coming into such a discussion with an opinionated mind, I think the discussion was very objective. What does Parliament has to do to ensure during resource allocation we refocus on such critical challenges? But my good brother and friend, coming up with the opinions of relief food, he has to demonstrate. That is number one. He has to come out very clear and say This is branded cream relief food. And in any case, emergency, I think, has no limits. It's not only focusing on if anything that has been done, especially during the issue of floods, because where I saw intervention government comes. Sometimes rain comes from the wet areas, but it's too much and requires intervention. But that set aside, when we come back and discuss the real issues about devolution, first of all, what was the spirit of devolution in our constitution? Because there before the new 2010 new constitution, there were a lot of disparity and inequity. And because the counties at the ASAL areas, more so in the northern areas, the North Rift areas, they were left behind because the little resources they were asking for was life support, not even infrastructure. With devolution, what do we expect in those resources going to devolution? Remember, they are receiving devolution money, that is the shareable revenue. They are also receiving what we call equalization fund. They will also have the support through indirect from non-government support system. All this put together is meant to focus on the challenges they are facing because they are the brim. Their weather conditions has not been static. We thank God for the last 2-3 years, it has been wet throughout the country. Now it is coming back where it was before. These are issues that we know they are circles. Right. Any leadership, any sound leadership, I even don't know what Senate, where my brother is sitting, when they are looking at the park, when they are looking at the Auditor General reports, where the money is being put, other than putting on the PE, where else do they focus on it? I agree. It is that time, and I think through the State of the Nation address, the President came out his clear agenda on ensuring that we move away from relying only on rain-fed agriculture to looking at other sources of water. I also need to invite my good brother to Finance Act of 2024, that is the business amendment laws, and the Finance Act of 2025, where VAT exemption and zero rates was provided for animal feed. This is to encourage, because government cannot provide anything, everything, but to encourage agencies, county governments, to be able to focus on producing staple food, especially during such dry time for our animals. All right. The government of the day cannot support everything. As I've said again, let us look at the basket. There is a big challenge when it comes to spreading that during appropriation, during discussion of the budget. Whenever you want to spread, always education is lamenting, health is lamenting, bending bills is lamenting, every other sector is lamenting. So at times, sharing this particular coin and payment of debt, because that's a problem we have, where we are saying 70% of what we are collecting goes to the payment of debt. So it's a huge challenge that all of us, we must appreciate this.
All right, I hold that thought there, and I know Dr. Kanyuithia Mutunga, you would want to add something to that, but I'll give you an opportunity after the break. You're watching Morning Cafe, TV 47.
Ruto with double T.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Ila mimi si kama. Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Meteorologist, what is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Forget tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Forget is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Yaani wewe furahia umekaa na kasipuni. CP unit ni Punet.
Ni Punet.
Punet.
So you guys knew about
Piga.
Sawa basi. Sema, don't give me the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m.
All right, yes, every day here we take a look at the big headlines, and today, just for a start, we're focusing on the drought situation. Yes, opinions divided on what should be done or how it should be done, of course, given political leanings and all. And Dr. Mutunga, you wanted to say
yes,
something?
thank you very much, Idimoli. I just wanted to reflect on the fact that we have been having Vision 2030, which clearly articulated that we needed to increase the area under irrigation, and even designated, identified that we have a natural potential of 1 million acres. We can 540,000 acres. We can hectares. I think we can irrigate that amount of land. Unfortunately, this has not been growing very slowly. And the reason why we have such a huge inclusion in the plan is because we know certain parts of Kenya are challenged. They are weather challenged. They don't get enough rain, and when it comes, it's erratic, and then it doesn't really cause growth of crops. So there are some areas in this country which must be naturally and permanently under famine relief. Right. And that is why the National Drought Management Agency is there. So National Drought Management is funded to be able to focus on those areas and increase. If you come to my constituency, the lower part bordering Isiolo requires a school feeding program. And we might not be, benefiting from such a provision because we are not considered to be 100% ASAL. We are considered Meru is high potential, Meru is self-sustainable in food, but some parts of Meru really are ASAL, and they need some of this focus. The other issue I wanted to mention is that we cannot, right now we are talking about drought mitigation. Why are we mitigating? It is because it has happened. Over the last 3 years, as the Honorable Ruto said here, we have been having sufficient rain. And the greatest blessing this government has had is sufficiency of rain. So our interventions has been providing, improving on the soil health in terms of fertilizer, and then managing the crops, and we have been able to feed ourselves. And of course, we have exceeded the amount of maize we produce, because we look at food security in terms of the bags of maize that we produce. We've been able to feed ourselves progressively. But this time we have a crisis. During the budgeting, this was not foreseen, although there was this forewarning. But you see, sometimes we need to have reliability on the warning. Reliability of the warning has been wanting in this country for quite some time. Sometimes you hear there's going to be too much. You remember when the president himself pronounced that there is going to be, based on the information from the weather advisors, and it turned out to be opposite. So we have to exercise caution when it comes to resource allocation. Resources are very scarce, as the honorable member has articulated. So we must allocate resources to those areas that are very needed.
Right.
So we cannot blame the government for targeting those areas that are naturally devastated. We cannot do that. It will be ignorant and irresponsible for us not to do that. The final thing I would like to say is that rain harvesting is a good idea. Rain harvesting has been, there is even a state corporation which is supposed to target rain harvesting. This country receives sufficient amount of rain to irrigate everywhere and produce enough crop. But the classical example that I can probably give is the revived Galana Kulalu irrigation scheme. It's now a global, example. This has earned our president status of opening the next meeting in US, which means it is working. So let's see where the government is doing something good and also say, yes, you need to be supported for such.
Yet the reality right now is that there's raging drought, which is wiping out livestock in northern Kenya and other counties, 13 counties in total affected, but those are the ones that are severely affected, but other counties like Meru are also suffering the same. 13 counties include Samburu, Narok, Baringo, Turkana, Taita Taveta, West Pokot, Tharaka Nithi, Makueni, Laikipia, even Embu, Nyeri, Meru and Lamu. So yes, indeed. And according to the NDMA, that's the National Drought Management Authority, 1.8 million people in the arid and semi-arid lands are currently food insecure. This figure is projected to rise to over 2.2 million this month, now that the short rains continue to underperform. The weatherman says no rainfall is expected much of January and even February. This will continue being a big discussion, but unfortunately it is only on one of the front pages today, the Star. The rest of the dailies, no mention of that crisis at all. But they seem to be talking about something else, and it's what we want to talk about now. On the front page of the Standard, they talk about Ruto's reality check. President William Ruto's hold on Mount Kenya is weakening, according to the Standard on the front page. His climb up the mountain is getting slippery. I'm reading directly. His latest tour, where only 2 governors out of 11 joined him to launch projects, is a pointer to a switch in allegiance. That is the assessment on the Standard. If you read the Daily Nation, it talks about something different. And yes, they talk about Ruto's plan to regain support in Mount Kenya. The larger Mount Kenya region gave the president close to 3 million votes in 2022. The president has now returned to region buoyed by his party's wins in last year's by-elections. And that is where we want to begin this conversation, Senator. Things appear to be changing. According to some assessment in the dailies, some people feel the president is not doing so well. But even according to the former deputy president, who spoke in vernacular earlier this week, he talked about even the kind of support that he now holds even among elected leaders. Some of them appear to be shifting back to Kenya Kwanza. Is it true that Mount Kenya is not solid on one or either side currently?
Thank you, Fred. And I don't think it's true that Mount Kenya is changing or softening towards William Ruto. And if I start by the comment on the Standard that, the number of governors attending the president's functions in Mount Kenya. In fact, I can tell you that had it not been for the very vulnerable position that a governor holds, and by vulnerability I mean that a governor can be impeached anytime, and so sometimes they attend the president's functions, not because they support him, but because of course they fear that some files would be pulled from some place, and maybe MCAs maybe made to maybe impeach governors. And that is why it's very hard for a governor, even when they do not support the president, to miss his functions, because of course President Ruto is a very vigilant leader, and you do not want as a governor to taste his vengeance, because that is what he is, and you need to survive as a governor. That's why governors appear even when they do not support the president. There is this claim, and when we were off air, my good friend Ruto was telling me he's very buoyed by, I think, the story on the Standard, on the Nation, that Mount Kenya is changing and is warming up to President Ruto. One of the things that, of course, those that want to make that argument are using are the numbers that are appearing when the president appears in Mount Kenya. But those numbers are actually bought, paid appearances. And even Rigathi Gachagua himself has told people, and he's on record, that when these goodies are brought by William Ruto, of course, they should go, because times are very hard, especially in our region. And so we have advised our people that every time the president comes, because of course when he comes, he pays handsomely to every attendee. So we have advised them to go and of course, collect that which is there to be collected. And that is why they are there. And of course, we have told them that, when you want to collect some money from somebody, then you do not frown towards them. I mean, you smile. If you are required to say 2 terms for the pay to come, then you have told them, just go do that, say that, but of course, you know where your hearts are. So I want to tell you, Fred, that Mount Kenya, if there is anything the people of Mount Kenya can never do, it is to accept to be lied to again by somebody who has lied to them. And why you see this violence, of course, Ruto will want to say that we are planning violence against ourselves, which is a very weak and miserable argument. This violence that you see, meted against us, Rigathi Gachagua, and those of us who support him every time we want to go somewhere, especially in Mount Kenya, it's because they do not want, Ruto and his government does not want us to tell people the truth, does not want us to remind the people, hey, you are told that Mama Mbogas would rise from that situation, own kiosks, ultimately own shops, and then wholesale shops, that border riders were going to buy taxis. A taxi guy was going to buy a matatu, because that is what President Ruto came and told our people, and ultimately buy a bus. So they do not want us to tell the people, to ask the people, how many border riders have bought matatus? In fact, most of them, their borders have been repossessed. They do not want us to remind people that the promises that were made in 2022, none of them has been kept. And so when he comes and starts to tell you about now Singapore, you just treat that person as somebody who treats, lying as a hobby. So, I mean, that is what they do not want us to tell our people. And that's why we must be prevented from addressing our people. And I want to challenge those that support the president, and they are here. If you have a superior idea, you present it on the table. If you think, as Ruto claims every day, that some of us have no brains, I don't know why then God did not decide to create President Ruto with one big head to think for every other Kenyan, and the others of us to... I mean, if we do not have heads, we do not have brains, why don't you give us space to show, to display our ignorance? Why are you sending goons protected by the police?
Ruto, and I want us to approach, because I want to focus on President William Ruto's behavior this year. And of course, he began the year by distributing and launching the Nyota program and rolling it out. He began in Eldoret. The next the next stop was Nyeri, where he combined a lot. He combined a lot of the counties from Mount Kenya region. But he also used the platform to speak some politics. He talked about the person who opposes him. He talked about who brought him initially to the Mount Kenya region. This looks more like a campaign rollout and not just the Nyota program, don't you agree?
Well, what you're asking, Dimuli, and what the editors are putting here is the same thing. Where Kenya, we trade much on perception than the reality. Anything you do, how you dress up, how the stager, how you come up, how you smile, whom are you sitting
what
with,
you say,
everything. We've always discounted them into a political. Of course, we Kenya, with the democracy, at the moment, it is so much premier. It pays much on political perception than the real cause where we want to go. First of all, I don't know, it's difficult sometimes to even respond or correct what my good friend is saying. It just confirms what William has been saying, that these guys have no agenda, they have no plan. Listening to their words and their speeches and the talks it sums up the biggest question which it has been put before them. It is enough time. You cannot, even the Bible says, you cannot have a bitterness until the sun sets. How many sunsets have taken place since even after impeachment? It is many. But the same bitterness is still what is coming out. That one is not going to change the nation. And let me say this. Please, for some reasons, there are some other level of discussion that we must come out of. Kenya is not only one region. Kenya is not one corner. I have a question. Why is it only in this region that we speak about political violence? And it's not only this region that is perceived to be opposing the president of the day. We've seen Western, we've seen Governor of Trans Nzoia, we've seen all these other people, and there is no evidence of violence. Some of these things are orchestrated to just win sympathy. Let me put it there. But in response to your question, as I've said, beside issuance of Nyota, which is one of the element or fundamental agenda that this government of the day, which is in place, spoke about. If you remember the Yellow Book, which was launched at Kasarani Auditorium, it laid out a focus on how to transform the nation. One of the issues was financial inclusivity, and this is what this regime has tried to utilize every resource, be it what is collected from tax, or be it any other donor money or a funder, to ensure that those elements are addressed. And that is why the issue of Nyota is focusing on the youth, not only just youth, but those youth who are disadvantaged, those who never found an opportunity to proceed in terms of education and give them more power to access opportunities. Because these are focusing on youth, those who graduated from Form 4, and they are at home, but they are business ideas to jumpstart them. And in any business, any good business, so-called business moguls, they never started from top there. It is something that you are building over time with your commitment and determination. And this is why the president said, we don't have every resource to give you, but we can just jumpstart your idea to run. So, president is in Mount Kenya today. He has gone down. Besides meeting people, he has gone inspecting projects. I saw a trend yesterday, Honorable Kadoni Mushomba, who has been critical of this government, even saying that I was insulting this government to ensure we have development. She was walking along above the road in our own constituency and appreciating that, indeed, the fact that I've been opposing this government, something is happening. I saw President inspecting roads in Nyeri, the interchange, which is a unique, a transformative element showing that if we focus on this way and open up the country. The other day, the president is launching dual-link and expansion of the road from Nairobi here that is running all the way to Malapa. These are things that have been stuck for a long time. What Kenyans want to see, and it is high time we need to appreciate that Kenyans are intelligent and come out of this gugunism of owning people. Like now, who said Mount Kenya are bad people? Like, listening to my brother, the way they want to take us, that they are owning Mount Kenya in their pockets, that they are the one to determine, they want to shop the votes of Mount Kenya. They want to use Mount Kenya in the same basket to go and negotiate. The other day I saw him telling Kalonzo Musyoka, Kalonzo, what are you going to bring? I already have Mount Kenya with me. We need to sit down and negotiate for an... It is selfish discussion. What we are saying, Kenyans are intelligent. Right. We have a president that is a president of the Republic of Kenya. He's not a president by virtue that is a Kalenjin by birth. He's not a president of a Kalenjin nation. That's why he moves across the country. The fact that we are saying Mount Kenya is stripping, Mount Kenya is coming back, he's doing his work as a president by going there, delivering on projects, investing on projects, and meeting the people. It was also not, and in the long run, he's able to speak, he's getting an opportunity to explain his agenda to the people well, because people of Kenya need to be explained over and over and demonstrate what is happening.
Thank you, Ruto, because it is not lost on Kenyans that the president has, for a while now, stayed away from Mount Kenya. Even during the campaigns for the by-elections, he did not show up in that area.
How would you expect him to reduce himself to by-elections?
Now, after the by-election, we...
Mutunga to ensure
Thank you,
brings back the seat.
Thank you, Ruto.
Mutunga would have failed. It would be on him now. Yeah. He did his good work.
After the by-elections of Mbeere North and that win, the president now appears buoyed and more confident to show up in Mount Kenya. He's more confident to even take on his biggest rival in that area, his former deputy. Don't you think that this now looks more like a campaign period and the president has rolled it out, and it has very little to do with Nyota program?
Your own statement...
It's a question, not a
statement. Your own statement negates the headline in the Standard.
I talked about even the headline in the Daily Nation, which is different.
Because the grip for the president is not weakening in Mount Kenya, it's actually strengthened. It's strengthening by the day. Now, having people to address is a great opportunity. Look back during the time of campaigns for the last election, during the last election, 2022. How many times did the president of the Republic then go to Central Kenya? How many times? He never dared, because the environment was hostile. He never went on a campaign trail in...
President Uhuru Kenyatta?
Yes. Okay. So, the fact that President Ruto can go to Mount Kenya, the fact that President Ruto can get mammoth crowds attending his function, has completely driven out, weakened, and destroyed the hope of our friends on the other side who are trying to say that there is an alternative leadership within Mount Kenya. It is not true. Mount Kenya people are not foolish. They are also not stupid. The fact that, I'm actually surprised that Senator Ruto can sit on a platform like this and tell Kenyans that it is somebody who has told Mount Kenya people to be going for the money. Which money do you give in a huge function like that one? Mobilization, people have generally told, so-and-so is coming. So you, at your own will, you decide to go for the function or not. When you go there, you have an opportunity to listen to what the government is doing from the driver of the government. And that convinces a great majority of, a large population to the point, because they hear things basically. Let me tell you, we are doing a lot of development in our backyard. But do you know that we have to go and tell people what we are doing, even those who are in the neighborhood of those developments? Because they are not bothered. They are busy in their own lifestyle. They can see something going up there, but they don't even link it up with anyone. So when we talk to people, it articulates what we are doing and resonates with the needs of the people. The other issue that I think is important for us to notice and to realize is that when we look at Mount Kenya as a region, sometimes we talk about Mount Kenya. If you ask me, I'll talk about Mount Kenya East and Mount Kenya West, because there's a dichotomy. Over time, during the development of this country from independence, Mount Kenya has received attention because of maybe the numbers, but also because they were the first people to form the government, because they were also the people to go to school before the others. They were also the people, because for various reasons. Let's not look at population as the only thing that matters here. And let's not look at these votes as if they are already cast and somebody is carrying them. It will depend on how we reach the people with the development and the real-time development which they can see and verify.
Do you agree that the president is using the Nyota program partly as a campaign vehicle? Because he has used the platform to speak some politics.
The president is a politician. The president is also the leader of the nation, Kenya. So as the president speaks, he speaks about the number of things that are misrepresented, misreported, or basically naturally altered to cause a belief of some kind. So he has to correct some of these intonations. So he takes this opportunity to basically to make the correction, to align people with what is happening. Because the president has many times spoken about mediocrity in this country. And when you talk about mediocrity, I think mediocrity is exercised when we live at community level and we don't look at other countries and other nations. When you want to see violence, and I would like to ask my honorable senator, Fred here, to look at the situation in our neighboring countries. That's where you see violence. That's why you see opposition leaders locked up. That's why you see the systems, social media systems switched off. It's not in Kenya. So Kenya, we have full democracy here. People live and decide what they want to do and do it.
All right.
Again, we have not reached the elections yet, the campaigns yet. During the campaign period, people will go out and campaign for the votes. That is the time to ask the hard questions. Did we deliver? Did we not deliver?
There's something on Nyota, allow me to put it. I was in Eldoret and the president was learning. You've raised something pertinent. Is the president using Nyota as a campaign tool? The biggest question, and what I had president say, which I agree with him, is not the first funding or intervention on people perceived to be vulnerable or in the law. We've had women enterprise, we've had all this. The president decided to take it upon himself to ensure that this thing is very transparent and is able to reach to the people. It is out of his governance attitude, because these things have been there and they've been done under the carpet. And most of the time you cannot see money have been there. We've had support partners who have been giving, and most of the time that level of kind of integral
There's an entire ministry.
And that's why what the president said, I am the president of Kenya,
and he has to do it.
Therefore, I need to ensure that I oversee this thing, because he's the chief implementer. He's the chief implementer of government programs. And therefore, for him to be there is something that is paramount, so that he's able to oversee it going direct to the youth.
We have seen other programs, even the Hustler Fund that was spearheaded, yes, by the president to some level, but then the minister or other senior government officials take over. Now we're seeing the president moving from one area to another.
This is launching.
From the implementation, operationalization, the ministry is there.
All right.
Yes.
And the need for money, Udumuli, we all come from those backgrounds. We know there is need for cash. Real money. Right. We need to put money into the pockets of the people for them to be able to do
and also
business. Or
give attention it deserves.
Okay.
To give attention it deserves. More than 50 billion is not little money.
Okay. I'd want you to speak about that, whether the president is using this, going himself as an individual to actually launch this. Because even on the People Daily, Ruto on the road, can development projects win back voter trust by 2027? It seems to appear that the president has officially launched his campaign period. And then again, still on the political side that you support, and the former deputy president alluded to this, one of his elected leaders who supported him appears to have shifted base. It's also quoted here, Koimburi's silent shift is a Juja MP drifting towards Kenya Kwanza. We've seen some people elected leaders ditch the former deputy president.
Thank you, and I would rather, Fred, that even when somebody has a very, pressing point, that they wait until their time comes so that we can be able to...
As long as I allow them, it's okay. I'll handle that bit.
Fine. I think the issue of Nyota, I don't know the example I can give Fred, but growing up in the village, every time somebody was, intoxicated, most of them would claim that they were not, drunk, so to say, even before anybody asked them whether claimed that they were drunk. And I think that is an example that I can give of the president, every time claiming that it's not time for politics, it's time for development, while he's actually doing politics. Now, I've listened to my colleagues here, and they are saying that the president is not doing politics with Nyota, he's launching. I mean, the president is the president of Kenya. It's okay, he can launch a Nyota program if he's not doing politics. Look for one station in the country and then launch and leave the rollout to be done by those that are in charge. But they cannot convince anybody who lives here, but maybe they can convince people who live out there and people who do not know President Ruto that he needs to launch a Nyota program in every other county as president. Of course, it's because he's doing politics. And so because if he was just launching, like I've said, do a national event, launch, he's the president in charge of the whole country, then the rollout happens or is carried out. Those that are in charge of different areas and maybe the ministry officials. But that is the nature of President Ruto, and that's why we have had very many problems. You remember he is the person who was you remember when he was promoting this new funding model before it came tumbling down and became a big failure. He was the one, you remember him even hosting students sometimes, and everybody who knows or has an idea how government operates was asking themselves, where was the CS for education? Where was the PS for education? Because he believes in doing everything. He believes in micromanaging everything and everybody. And that is there for everyone to see. And that's what he's doing with Nyota programs. Now, you asked me before, and kindly allow me also to make some comments on some of the things that I have said. But let me talk about this thing that you have asked me about some leaders who are hitherto supporting Rigathi Gachagua and now seem to be leaning towards President Ruto. I do not want to speak for those leaders. But I know there's a lot of intimidation, there's a lot of, threats, and there's a lot of also of bribery, even to leaders. And we have had, whispers that President Ruto has sworn that he's going to get everybody who supports Rigathi Gachagua away from Rigathi Gachagua to join him. Fred, I can tell you, if he will achieve that, there is one man that he will not be able to get to those dirty schemes, and that is yours truly. And so he can continue with those that are vulnerable. Some of us are ready to continue with our programs.
You feel that is what is happening, that many people have been enticed by...
Of course, and then inducements in terms of development projects, in terms also of personal, personal benefits and that kind of thing. And that is why now you see people who are not very firm, because of course I can tell you, this side where I belong, of course we are starved of...
But what perception does that create when elected leaders who previously supported that side now appear to be shifting? Isn't it the perception you're talking about, that the mountain could be
No.
a bit fluid?
No. It's just the leaders that are shifting, not the ground. And you can do an independent check, because sometimes you can even do what we call, you can do a survey, you can do some, some opinion where these leaders come from, and check where their rating was before they rejoined the Ruto and where it is now. It's something that can be
Senator,
done.
look at this. In as far as perception is concerned,
yes.
William Ruto and his UDA party successfully get the Mbeere North seat. William Ruto and his party managed to do grassroots elections in regions, even within Mount Kenya region, electing about 20 officials per polling center, meaning that he has a team on the ground already. William Ruto attends church in Othaya, and a crowd shows up, whether paid or not. William Ruto is launching the Nyota program there. Don't you think that even as far as perception is concerned, for someone who's coming into the country and watching, they may actually believe that, yes, the mountain is shifting?
I like how you have concluded. Somebody coming into the country and checking, because that is somebody who does not know what is happening on the ground. So, and actually that is what William Ruto is working for, because the scheme is, we must steal this election. But because we need to win legitimacy, then we must show that we must create a perception that even in hostile areas like Mount Kenya, that we have support. So actually, that is the perception he's trying to create. But as per support on the ground, that one, I can tell you, has not changed even an iota of it. But allow me kindly, if please, to comment about some of the things that my colleagues have said, especially about the region where I come from. And Ruto here, my friend, I call him Ruto with double T. He says that we have no agenda. Why? Because he hears the president say that. He's parroting what he hears the president say. We have a lot of agenda. But how can we implement the agenda when we are not the ones in charge of public coffers? We can only share our ideas, which they do not even want us to share. That's why they are beating us up and down. He says that violence is, residing in Mount Kenya and no other region. I don't know whether Ruto was here when we were doing by-elections. I don't know whether he saw the violence that was there in Malava in particular. I don't know whether he saw a man that was actually beaten up, stripped naked, and everything. I don't know whether Ruto knows that Malava is not in Mount Kenya. Probably he may need to look at the map of Kenya again before he makes such a claim. Let people not, take a region, isolate it, and so that anybody from there who speaks their mind, then they are told that they have no brain of their own, that it's because they come from that region. Okay. We have the independence. We must have the independence and freedom to express ourselves. It is not where we come from. It is our brains that we are employing here. And he says that we are behaving like we own Mount Kenya. And he was referring to Rigathi Gachagua. And he says that because Rigathi Gachagua wants to use Mount Kenya to go and bargain, I want to tell him that the party that Rigathi Gachagua has formed, DCP, is a national party. And in case Ruto here does not have information, DCP, the newest party in Kenya, won a ward seat in Kakamega in Western Kisa East. DCP won, a very new party, won a seat in Narok Town. Okay. That is not in Mount Kenya. DCP won in Kariobangi. That is not Kenya. So please. And in any case, if you look at President Ruto when he formed URP, where was his support base when he came and negotiated with Mount Kenya?
I want us to finish this debate because I want us to discuss matters,
I think
school placement.
He has mentioned all about me. It's only a fool who doesn't change. And speaking from my good friend, because he has mentioned me severally, I would wish also to ask him, does still remember the day he was at Crossroads and he had disagreement, I don't know why, with Rigathi Gachagua. And he was on record saying that it is time for Muranga. You remember? And it was Peter. In fact, he's among the founders of the division in this government. Him, not even the other people, among the leaders who started this division. But when the war picked up, they ran away. They went under. He is one of it. Today, he's the one speaking. He's the one preaching about water, and yet he's taking wine. So, for leaders that have showcased the need of working with the government, it's not about them, it's about the people. The people of Kenya are tired of rhetoric, hate-mongering, Because tell me today, how many times have Agnanyutu been on the roadside with microphone and listen to their words they are saying? Everything is insult. Look at Medu the other day, what he's saying. Words that cannot be said by a leader of that office, that the Constitution of Kenya, Article 6 and Article 10, has spoke against. Somebody that carries office of integrity. Oh, now you need to conduct. It doesn't mean you have to agree with everything. But when you disagree and speak out on what you're opposing, there is a level of decorum that you must showcase. In that lack of decorum in their statement, what do you expect Kenyans who are following them to say? So when Kenyans go down and say, okay, hey, we've listened to you, but allow us to focus on what is touching us, that is development. A smart leader will have to listen to his people, and you go with the people. As you've said, because we want to conclude, and I really feel sometimes we should not dwell much on where they want to take us. You know, those issues of violence, we know they are masters of violence, and they are guys who have been winning out of this one. What we are saying, and that's why we have to support the president of the day, looking at the way he has spread his focus on development. No, this one has something to say today. Coast, they have something to say today. Okay. Nyanza, who predominantly never voted for this government, have something to talk about in development. Same with Western, same with everywhere, even Rift Valley. The fact that as a nation we must appreciate our situation in terms of resource availability for development, which is scanty, but is able to balance and ensure that the nation, as for the provision of the Constitution, a symbol of national unity, there is equity, promotion of equity in terms of spread of available resources and governance in a positive manner. That is the kind of leadership we are speaking about. Otherwise, nothing stops them from holding a microphone today and speaking about your agenda. It doesn't mean that you need money to tell your agenda. Even a pastor is preaching about heaven, and we have never gone to heaven. But listening to pastors in the church, in the pulpit, you can, even him is a Christian, he believes today that there will be a time he's going to heaven. You can see how heaven looks like from the preacher. Even them, can they tell us that when you talk of affordable housing, they are not going to go to this thing? Remember, this is a provision under Article 43. When you talk of universal health coverage, they are not going to this thing. They want to address in a better way than this one. They want to address the issue of housing in a better way than this one. They want to give us alternative way of transportation and opening up the western part of the country, which is a larger part of it, and connecting to the landlocked countries, the regional countries, the lake region countries, by opening up this particular road, by discussing the issue of creating what we call infrastructure fund, so that you can relieve the budget to address other social issues. If they have a better agenda than this one, that's what we need now to engage and discuss. Not hate, not regional politics.
Because of time, Mutunga, is there anything you would want to add to that debate? Because I want us to move on to another, even hotter debate about education.
The issue of agenda, I heard the Honorable to clearly say that they are not being given the opportunity to implement the agenda. And I actually wonder from what context is he talking about? Implement what agenda when there is a government in place? He should be talking about selling the agenda. First of all, which agenda is it? Is it Matusi? Is it agenda of demeaning people and demeaning government and name calling? Is that the agenda that they want to implement? I would wonder how implementation will look like, because we are talking about, first of all, can you make Kenyans clear on what your agenda is, what your strategy is, where you are going, where do you want to take this country? Okay. Is Kenya Mount Kenya?
All right. I want us now to move on to another very important debate about education, but which has taken a political angle, and I'll start with you, Senator. The former Deputy President has ignited a nationwide debate about the level of education infrastructure across the country and the caliber of schools outside Mount Kenya region and outside Nairobi, and basically around the northeastern part of the country. But initially, when he began this conversation, he made a statement that schools in this region should be left to people from this region. Don't you agree that that statement alone, despite, okay, fine, after that he has had an opportunity to explain what he may have meant, but that alone, yes, may have muddied the kind of debate that he introduced?
Thank you, Fred. Allow me just a second to say, this thing of we have no agenda, please, is something that, before I address the issue of schools, is something they keep repeating. We have said what our agenda is so many times. And you have said that we want to bring back the dignity of the payslip that has been invaded by President Ruto's government. That is an agenda, so that then we can have more purchasing power for payslip holders. We have said that we want to make education better, because as it is now, the competition is not going to school. So we have said that should be, and when we get government, then we are going to make sure that competition is disbursed to schools at the right time and in the right quantities. This government has brought down competition for secondary schools from 22,000 to 16,000, and that is something that was said by the former peers for education, and even the 16,000 is not available. We have an agenda for education. We have an agenda for health. And we are saying we did not have to bring a new system altogether by the name of Shiv that consumed 104 billion to just, buy a system, and a system that is yet to fully cover the expenses. We are saying we would want to go back where NHIF was and address the challenges that NHIF had. We have a lot of agenda. We have, even here, I've talked about food security, and I've said that construction of dams would be the ultimate solution to the problems, to the recurrent problems that we have been having about recurrent drought and hunger. We need to be food secure. We have said that we would want to, of course, produce more more energy, so that we can make the cost of production in this country lower. We have a lot of agenda. I think Honorable Mutunga did not hear me. I did not say we have not been given an opportunity to implement. I've said that ours can only remain as an agenda because we cannot implement. And I think next time Mutunga should listen to me better. Let me come to the issue now of schools. I think Rigathi Gachagua has ignited a very important debate. And it's a debate about corruption, actually. It's not about schools per se. It may have been, provoked by his comment about schools. But what we are saying, Fred, is we are not opposed to having Kenya as one nation where a student can come from Murang'a, which I represent, and go and study in Turkana, so that they can be able to interact with other and the learners from other regions.
So you do agree that his initial statement was a bit off?
No, I don't agree. It's only that it was taken out of context. That's what I'm explaining. So what we are saying is, Fred, if we want to create an equal Kenya, if we want any learner to join to join a national school, now C1 schools, in any region in this country, then we must first of all interrogate, how do we determine, how do we pick these C1 schools? That's the first thing, and it's very important. And I want the viewers to listen to this very well. How do we pick these schools? We pick the schools that have the adequate infrastructure, schools that are already performing well. All right? We must also ask ourselves, how did we put up the infrastructure in these schools? And one of them has been through community support. The other one has been, since 2002, has been through CDF. And that is a fact. So what we are saying, if we want to achieve equity, then every other region must, upgrade their schools, so that when you come to Murang'a, for example, and pick the schools that parents have built, CDF has been contributing to, so that now these schools have better infrastructure. If you are picking it and making it a national school, all right, you must also pick another one in Mandera, where the local leaders there have also invested the resources that they have been getting, and it is, of course, also of maybe equal or comparable standard. So that when you bring a child from Mandera to Murang'a, then there is also a school in Mandera that you have picked as a ministry to make it a C1 school, where another child from Murang'a can go to Mandera. So the question has been, first of all, how do you pick these schools before you make them national? Whom do you consult? How many do you pick per region? Because the question is, and the issue that we have is, when you come to Murang'a, and I'm referring to Murang'a because that's where I represent. We gave out Murang'a High School to be a national school. We gave out Mogoeri Girls to be a national school. These are schools that that had hitherto been having a lot of space for local children, all right? When you make a school a national school, it becomes an island. I mean, even the host community will get only its share as, you know, those coming from other regions. So then you come back. Now there are rumors, and we are investigating, that the best schools that had been left now to serve maybe the areas, depending on the quota of admission, you know, Kahugia girls, we have Kiagodo boys, we have Jiris boys, we have Kamahoa girls. If now again you come and make them C1 schools, it's okay. You open up to other areas. Have you picked an equal number of schools from Elgeyo Marakwet, so that when a child from Elgeyo Marakwet now comes to this C1 school or national school, then a child from Murang'a also has an opportunity to go to Elgeyo Marakwet? Because if you just pick all the schools that have the infrastructure, you open them up to everybody by making them national. While you are not doing that in other regions, then you are disadvantaging these learners from this region. And finally, this is very important because I'm also an educationist. Finally, you can pick these schools, but through a public participation. You know, let the locals say what they think, the local leadership. Number two, it still can be opened, but can you reserve 1 or 2 streams for locals, even as you open them to national, to the other regions?
Yes,
and that is the debate. What have people been doing with their CDF allocations?
All right.
What are people doing with their county allocations?
Thank you, Senator. The cartoon on page 13 of the Daily Nation speaks to this. It has the former deputy president standing at a podium and saying these things and pointing at, an arrow pointing at the northeastern leaders, saying, forget the message, we don't like the messenger. Ruto, do you agree that yes, whatever, and now I'm focusing on what the senator said, that it is a valid debate, but simply because it's been introduced by someone who maybe politically may not be that welcome, then we're missing out on an opportunity to discuss something very valid.
Well, there is a thin line between the facts and the fiction on that. First of all, the Bible says, I'm a Christian. Out of the abundance of the heart, so the mouth speaketh. I think this constitution we gave and we pride on as a country, Kenya, is the best ever we had. Only that we still have a challenge on implementing, because we choose how to implement. As long as it suits you, you speak about it. If it's not about you. The principle on cohesion and unity has to be looked at wholesomely in terms of implementation of every government program. Education is the critical element. Remember, we have a generation who are still not yet indoctrinated, unlike us here, because of politics. You know, at any given time, you must hold a position. And that position, it doesn't matter how you are going to hold it. Whether you are going to insult anyone, whether you are going to promote hate, whether you are going to use your position in terms of coming to influence your direction. But these young minds, the young Kenyans, those whom we've been calling that they are going to hold this nation tomorrow, we should avoid by all standard and mechanism to interfere with them and allow them to grow in a natural environment to love their nation, to love their country, including patriotism. And for this to happen, we must allow cross-cultural exchange by ensuring, which I agree to some extent, that at least we should also look at the whole nation and spread the availability of opportunities and resources so that we can cross and move our children. We allow children from the northern side of Kenya to come to the western part of the Kenya, those in the Rift to come to Nairobi, those in Nairobi to go down there, so that when they grow up tomorrow and they assume their office and responsibilities, they understand their nation and they can.
So the debate is valid.
But how we are putting it is what we are against. The moment we begin to reduce a government, taxpayers, infrastructure, like our schools, they have been built by taxpayers' money, whether through CDF or through ministry infrastructure money. Most of these big schools, if you trace it, taxpayers' money has been used to put there. And every Kenyan has a right, every Kenyan from all corners. We should not reduce our education limit to an extent of saying, okay, fine, since this particular institution is here, let this institution serve the people who are here. That is a wrong connotation. But the right messaging is this: for us to be able to have equity across and fair distribution of resources and development, please, let's also, regional leaders on the other side, come up with something of equivalent so that we're able to cross. I agree on that, but I disagree on how we are going to put it. We should not interfere and regionalize it put it also in an ethnical manner. You know, those languages. That's something I disagree. But I agree that let's allow children, or the other part of it, be on this side. Let's also, it is high time. We are 60 years after independence, for sure, to say the truth. And as I said last, even before devolution came in, we had other alternative funding, which was going on those other regions which were perceived to be difficult. We also need to evaluate and audit. Even if you look at the division of revenue, as far as shareable revenue is concerned, the formula that is being used by CRA most of the time has been favoring those areas. It is time they need to call themselves into audit and tell us, we've started from here, we have improved this much. We are here to, but it should be progressive so that on all matters on sectors, roads, water, and everything, because those are critical elements that can interfere with the also national school. Availability of water for children, you know, access to medical support, infrastructure in terms of roads, energy, and all that. Those are the issues that we need to discuss. But what I am against, and I should be on record on this one, any leader whatsoever, whether you are in power, you are not in power, you are a leader, as long as you are commanding or you speak on behalf of the people, let us reduce any words that seem to divide our people, and especially that interferes with the programs like education.
Because of time, Dr. Kanyuithia, you do agree, that the two gentlemen agree that this is a valid debate that we should be having. But you've seen the responses so far to this statement. It's because of the person, directed to the person who brought it up. It's not really about, no one has responded saying whatever you said was wrong and said we have schools of the same caliber.
Let me say that the process of development of education in this country followed a creation of centers of excellence. And a school like the one under reference, the one that was particularly referred to, has benefited immensely from the national resource support. Before even CDF came by, before even devolution, it was a major beneficiary, and so many others. But there are schools that have organically developed, and they are top on the agenda right now. Like Maranda School in Nyanza, like Friends Kamusinga School in Western, and others. They have come up, and they are now very prestigious schools, and because government has focused on driving them to where they are today. But my question is, which is really important in this particular debate, has any child from Mount Kenya been discriminated anywhere in education sector in this country? Does it therefore warrant a leader of national approach, national level leader, to stand and say we should reserve? And even Honorable Ruto here tries to say that we need to have equal. Honestly, don't we also look at population? It should be equitable. And there is also focus in equitable development as per the Constitution. The Equalization Fund was brought in to try and make sure that infrastructure development, supply of water, health, and so on, is brought up in some of those areas that have lagged behind for a very long time. But coming back to the debate, that was after the mistake. People had to sit down and think through, how do I get into this situation that my mouth has driven me into? So this is why I elicit in this debate. This debate has always been there. People need to be rational in resource allocation. These are state resources or government resources or people-targeted resources. We must be able to develop our people from our backyards. Such that if there's any recognition, there should be effort from the communities. Where we come from, if you see that even constituencies they have disparities. Some have had consistent leadership, which is progressive and forthright, and they have developed their institutions progressively. Others went to sleep, and right now they are trying to piece up to do classrooms. This is the time when others are doing tiling and paving. Others are trying to at least make sure their children do not stand in Monday classes. So there are those disparities, which cause, therefore, for the leader to be careful, to be awake, to be realistic in the resource allocation and following up these resources. So this debate has come up as a measure to try and salvage a situation.
But a positive one.
It is a positive one, which has come up because somebody has already found himself in trouble and is trying to get out through such debate.
And I'm seeing Senator Nyoto writing a lot of notes. Senator, we are out of time. But I'll give you 30 seconds just for your final comment.
Thank you for that. I think just in conclusion about this matter, to avoid this problem of, stealing, in quotes, schools from some regions and of course, locking out local children. I think, and I've said it so many times, what the government should do, if government is desirous of having a national school in Murang'a County, what government should do is to buy land construct a national school, not pick the ones that the parents and the community have given too much into and, lock out, local children. The other thing that we must say is that you do not strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. Because of the debate, because of the points that Mutunga is presenting here, fine, there are disparities. But you do not take away from those that you perceive to be strong to strengthen. You strengthen those that are weak. But finally, and what should be done very fast, is let every school, not just in Mount Kenya, let every school that has been elevated to national status, let it reserve at least a stream or two for locals, in order for locals also to be able to own that school.
30 seconds.
We must also appreciate the fact that there should be also some level of disparity that is there, because some of the areas like around Mount Kenya who had power at the start of independence were able to influence resources on those areas. And you cannot compare to areas which were left behind, who have been struggling with the issues of drought, the weather conditions, the issues. Those areas would still have some challenges that we must recognize. You may not have an equal reflection of opportunities like in areas which are at advantage. Lastly, is that to call upon Kenyans that it is time we need to look at and evaluate our leaders based on the content they have and ask leaders, please, Kenyans are tired of rhetoric, hate, spread in our speeches. Let's hold our kind in a decorum. Let's critique in a manner that is organized, a manner that is very objective, a manner that is very supportive, a manner that is able to put our nation together. But the divisive politics have been overtaken by events. Politics of hate, politics of vengeance is overtaken by events. We are leaders, we should not have a vengeance. Let's have a love and unity as we move forward.
Dr. Mutunga, 30 seconds.
Because personally I have not experienced discrimination when it comes to sharing positions. And the spirit of competition should be encouraged at all costs, so that our children can also measure up with the international community. Because we are developing a community to serve anywhere in this world. And Kenyans have been known to be very useful out there when they go to serve. So we need to encourage the spirit of competition. We should not reserve. Nobody should feel nobody should feel as deserving to take those positions instead of competing. Let's open it up. The other issue is when it comes to there's an issue that we debated upon during the campaign last election. We were talking about elite capture. And let me tell you, Ndimuli, elite capture happens even today. It happens in such a way that we have people in Nairobi who may not be responding to the needs of the people on the ground. There is need for us to go and talk to the beneficiaries so that we may be able to resonate with their needs. That elite capture is there. There are a few individuals form themselves into clans and so on. Then they take their positions just for their own benefit. Public money should benefit the people.
All right. Indeed, a big debate on, it came through matters education and placement of C1 learners, but it is indeed a big discussion about equitable distribution of resources. Thank you so much, Dr. John Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West, Julius Ruto, MP Keses, and Joe Nyoto, Senator Moranga, for a very vibrant debate this morning on the issues we've discussed. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, look at the headlines. ODM secret card as party starts 27 election pact talks with Ruto. That's a star. Let's not go to Uganda, but yes, in Uganda, elections are tomorrow. There's silence, there's no internet. Ajipanga upya kuteka mlima ni ukurasa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Telcos face higher fines as CA sets service quality at 90%. States 39 billion shilling legal fees come. And Ruto reality check in Mount Kenya. People Daily, Ruto on the road, can development projects win back voter trust by 2027. Those are the dailies this morning. My name is Fred Ndimuli. Good morning.